Reiss. Wilco makes a run ahead of it. Bergkamp suddenly changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp! That's magnificent! The move, and then this, which left Dabi's ass totally stranded.
Hello, Gooners out there. Good evening. We are a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast, and I am Kris. I'm your host. Hello. This evening, we were hoping to be a threesome. Unfortunately, we're a 73-year-old and 1 day. Well, actually, technically, we're a bit older than that because I've got more. But we're a twosome. We are a twosome.
A duo.
A duo, that's it. It's just me and Danny. Jeff's boiler's on the blink, everybody. How do you know it's heading towards winter when the boiler goes on the blink? So he may join us later on, he might not. We'll just have to see. But if he doesn't, then you're stuck with me and Danny for an hour or so. So hard luck to you all. Danny, how are you? Many happy returns for yesterday, sir.
Thank you very much. We had a lovely day out. Me and Sean, we said we'll get up at 10, leave at 11, be in Cambridge for 12. We got up at 12, left at 2, got to Cambridge for 4, and then I ate something that gave me the shits. So happy birthday to me, indeed. And then Sean's mum made me my favourite pear crumble and double cream, special custard. I don't like apples, they're too tart. And then I ate some of that, and then I was awake from 5:30 this morning until 8 a.m. this morning. Happy birthday to me in that tone. It is fucking horrible.
What a I love how 90% of our podcasts start with something to do with shit,
poo-based,
fecal in general. There's always something, isn't there?
Yeah, that's because we're old, Kris, and these things happen. It's the first time I've had tummy troubles for about 4 years. I used to get it regularly, but it might have been the Marks and Spencer's sandwiches that I had there because it had ham and mustard, and it was wafer thin, which means wafer thin quality.
It didn't agree with you, whatever it was. It did not agree with you.
Did not at all. So I'm now 53 years and 1 day. So there you go.
Well, I'm glad you had somewhat of a good birthday.
It was different.
Yeah. Well, we'll go with different. We'll stick with different. One thing I'm fairly sure you did enjoy would have been Sunday. We are a couple of days late because we're not down with the hipsters. Like, we're always late. We don't care. Like, we don't care. We are 3 days. This is Wednesdays. I don't know what bloody day of the week
it certainly is.
We're 3 days on from the Arsenal victory over Manchester City. Yes, that's Arsenal victory over Manchester City by 1-0. Seeing as it is just you and me, I don't really want to structure things too much. I just want to have a bit of a chat with you, really.
Yes.
What was your thoughts overall? Because obviously, it goes without saying we're all delighted. That's the
celebration police.
No, it's
they've come to stop us gloating.
They're looking for Haaland. He's been a missing man for a week now. But yeah, how did you feel? Just your general sort of feelings on it. Like, are you in that camp that says this is a potentially a game-changing result, not least because of what it does to the table, but it's more like the long term?
Say that again. I was looking at Jeff's message. He's putting pictures of his fucked boiler saying it's only 18 months old. What did you say?
For God's sake.
What?
I was saying, are you in the camp that feels like this result is game-changing in terms of does it set the bar? Is it that big? Is it just the fact we've won, or does it set that psychological edge now and we're in their head rent-free, as the kids say?
Oh yeah, definitely. I put a tweet about it, and if I can go and find it, as usual, the internet is letting me down. What did I put? That was a career-defining moment for Arteta. The worm has started to turn. Psychologically, that is a huge moment for Arteta, the players, the club, and us fans. Bravo, Arsenal. So that sums up how I felt about it, because it was magnificent. We they didn't come to play football, and that is usually a sign that a team is scared of us, because teams like Man City go everywhere and they play football. They out-football everybody, and they didn't, and they couldn't, and they tried it, and it didn't work. Whenever they tried anything, it didn't work. And for Haaland, for only the second time in his Premier League career to get not a single shot at goal. I mean, I've put the stat up here that someone else has got. They did Man City shots. There's 4 of them in red, all no goal. You can see all the Haaland shots are in blue there. There's no blue. There's no blue dots. Oh, and there's also no green dots for goals for them. And they were worried. I mean, you lose Gundogan, who is a hell of a player, and then you have no Rodri, who is a fouling little shit who gets away with murder, as we saw with Kovacic, who also got away with bloody murder. But then you've still got some of the best players in the league, some of the best players in the world there, and they did absolutely nothing. I mean, if I have a look at the whoscored.com and have a look, they had 4 shots, and they were 1 on target, 2 off target, 1 blocked. We had 12 shots, 2 on target, 6 of them were off target, and 4 of them were blocked. The gist of that means it could have ended 4-1. They were horrendous. They had absolutely nothing for us, and we did that without Saka.
That's actually a good point that I did want to raise about that, because there was that argument, wasn't there, that they didn't have Rodri, they didn't have Kevin De Bruyne, they didn't have Haaland, and they did have Haaland. So it kind of bodes that question, doesn't it? Because we didn't have Saka, who's arguably
the best player in the world.
Well, he's arguably one of the best players in the world at the moment. I mean, he's right up there on stats alone. That was the team news, wasn't it? That was the big team news pre-game, is that he didn't make it. Do you think that was Mikel mind games a little bit? Because I read somewhere that he was on the team coach, which I didn't find massively surprising, given the fact that he the team travels together, don't they? Like, I would still expect.
Who wasn't on the coach?
No, he was on the coach.
Who? Arteta?
No, of course Arteta was on the coach.
I thought you were saying that Arteta wasn't on the coach.
No, Saka. Yeah,
so we had our lucky charm, our team mascot, the favourite player in the world of Arsenal for quite some time. Yeah, I saw that he went, and he was sat behind the bench, wasn't he?
Yeah. So that was what I was wondering. Do you think like that was Mikel's way of sort of, trying to one up Pep by sort of suggesting, because there was a lot of reports in the media pre-game the night before, the morning of, that he was going to play. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't surprised that he didn't make it, because there's a hell of a turnaround time. And actually, if you look back at it in hindsight now, I'm pretty pleased with it, because it means he doesn't go away with England. He gets a good rest and he comes back hopefully fresh for the next league game. But it was a risk to sort of suggest he was going to play. But it kind of paid off, didn't it, for Arteta?
Did remind me of the olden days, and there was always managers. It was regularly saying, "No, they're not making it. They're not." It was usually Harry Kane and Spurs, wasn't it? Oh, no, they can't make it. He's going to be out, and then miraculously, he's playing the game. So I fully expected Saka to play, and I didn't expect Martinelli to play. So when I saw the lineups, and I saw, I've got the little thing here of the lineups. Where is it? It was, put this one up. This is a pretty good graphic. Trossard on the left, I was a little bit worried about, because he's really been off of form, hasn't he? He's not had a good time recently. And I saw Eddie up front. I thought, well, Eddie's litter picking for that game, because he's going to do absolutely shit all. Gabriel moved from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, just shows what a magnificent, versatile player he is. And then Jorginho in the middle, along with Reiss. And you thought, well, here we go. We're going to try and shut the game down, aren't we? Because we know that is going to end up being White, Jorginho, Reiss, and Zinchenko as 4 defensive-ish midfielders, and no one down the right-hand side. But then it all changed. You saw White was actually playing as what's not quite a right wing back, but not quite a right winger. Whatever that position is, I think he invented it.
Right wing back almost, but yeah,
it was, and it was very impressive. But then you saw these 2 bastards. Look at them; they've got the same haircut. They are. There's no team in the world that will come up against Saliba and Gabriel that won't be thinking, "Oh, fuck me." It is. They are the best centre-back partnership in the world. I'm going to say
What,
that without
20
having any idea of any others.
24 and 22, I think they are both.
Until they're 24 and 26.
Until they're 25 and 20, yeah. I
It's
mean,
just,
that's
it's just absolutely stunning how we managed to do it. And I didn't think we were going to do it. I thought, well, because we all secretly think that we're living in a simulation, and that if we think we're going to win, the simulation is going to go, you watch this 6-0 loss. So I went a draw, even though I hoped we'd win, but I knew we'd lose.
Well, do you want to know a fun fact about the game? The reason we won this game was actually down to me.
Oh,
because
you're living in a simulation as well.
I'm living in a simulation. The reason is I didn't even watch the first half.
What? Why?
Well, I got the times mixed up. So
shit, I do. I actually got up for it.
Yeah, well, I knew it was the late game, but I went out for a walk because Sunday was rest day. I'd had 10 solid days of runs, so I was like, right, today is the day where my legs are going to fall off if I put any more miles in them. So I'll just go for a little walk. And I was kind of watching Brighton and Liverpool while sort of watching Lorient and Lyon at the same time. I was like, I'll see these games out and then I'll go for a little poodle and then I'll come back in time. And it was only when I got halfway round the walk, it's like a National Trust loop, and I got halfway round, and the only thing that triggered me was this guy walked past in an Arsenal jacket, and I quickly looked down at my watch, and I was like, "Oh, I've got ages." And then I saw on my phone I had a notification from Arsenal, like basically saying the game had kicked off, and that was 25 minutes ago. I was like, "Oh, whoopsie daisy!" So yeah. So I wasn't even watching another game. I was just out and about walking. So luckily, in the modern era, you can of course flip on a radio.
How far were you from home?
When I found out, I was halfway around the loop, and the loop is 4 miles. So I was about 2 miles away from home. So with
your 100 miles a month. You must have thought, oh God.
Yeah, well, the irony was, if I had have been out on just a casual run, I probably would have got out and done the loop and got back in time. But because it was just literally a walk, I didn't even have my running stuff off. I just went for a walk.
Reliability.
So, I'm a liability, but it worked out all right, didn't it? So, it worked out well. I got back for the second half. But enough about me. Let's come back to the game itself. What did you make of I don't really want to spend too much time on referees because it's just boring, but any excuse at all for the Michael Oliver choices on Kovacic? Because we've had the leaked, we've had this show with Michael Owen and that, haven't we, since? And Howard Webb has tried to defend it, saying, oh, his heel was in the ground. Like that fucking matters to anybody. I mean, I thought he should have walked for the first tackle, or he could. Well, it was an orange, wasn't it? He could have stayed on. He could have gone for that, but he definitely should have gone for the second one.
Before I answer that, Trev and Fergus is in the chat. Afternoon, Fergus, fellow Gooner, podcaster. That's their YouTube channel. Go and subscribe to it. You will not be disappointed. They are much like us. They do it for the love of podcasting and having a chat, not to be famous.
That's the way.
Yes. But you were saying, I've got a picture of it here, the infamous tackle. Now, say again how the referee described this one.
Well, this was classed as...
whilst he was on a yellow.
Yeah, whilst he was on a yellow. And he said that Michael Oliver wouldn't have wanted to have... Was it ruin the game? I can't... He didn't want to make too big a decision that could potentially ruin the game. I don't give a shit about ruining the game. And the thing is, I think we've all said post-game, in reality, now we know the result, the benefit of hindsight is we can all now say we beat City with 11 against 11, right? Because if we'd have won this against 10 men, that would have been their out, right? So that would have been their excuse. But this is the law of the game. And I must admit, I'll be honest with you, I don't really watch Match of the Day anymore. I can't be asked.
No.
I'm interested in Arsenal and French League, and that's it. I don't really bother about the rest of the teams. But I did see that Malo Gusto tackle that he got sent off for Chelsea the other week. And that one, I could sort of see the argument of saying, oh, I'm not sure that is a red. And I thought the VAR gave him not the best advice on that one. But this one, it was just so obvious, wasn't it? And like you say, this tackle here on screen now, this was the second one of the two. I say he could easily have gone for the first one. It's from behind. It's out of control. Rakes Odegaard, who also twists, he twists it in the impact of the injury as well, and the impact of the tackle as well, which could have led to injury. Yeah. So I just thought that, again, I don't want to spend hours on referees, but I just don't think the defence they've come out with is remotely acceptable and justifiable in any way, shape, or form. And, people are going to ask questions, aren't they, when this referee spent time in the UAE, who, of course, fund Manchester City literally days before. I don't subscribe to it, but you can see why people can put two and two together, can't you?
Michael Oliver doesn't want to have a negative impact on the game by overreacting.
That's it.
You absolute shitbag.
Overreacting. Well, a foul is a foul. Endangering an opponent is endangering an opponent. It doesn't matter what the game happens like.
And did you see the other one? Oh God, that's been on the screen the whole time while I was looking for the tweet. Sorry about that.
I did wonder.
Yeah. The other referee who was in the studio and Paul Merson was having a go at him. And he was talking down to a player of the likes of the rest of the whole panel. I mean, you had that woman on there who's useless, but one of the other blokes on there was an idiot. And then Merson, who's won 2 league titles, and he's won FA Cup, and he's won the Cup Winners' Cup. And what is this referee? You don't understand the game. It's not about... Shut up. Mercy should have got up and chinned the twat. They're just going to keep on doing it because they are not accountable to anybody. We had up last week, we had all the times that the PGMOL have apologised for stuff. I mean, Karl put this on Twitter. For those at home on the bus and on the toilet, it's the Family Guy thing where it usually says racist, not racist, but going by the colour grade. It's gone yellow card, not an Arsenal player, red card, Arsenal player. And we've seen it so many times in recent years. With goals being disallowed and things being offside. Some teams are getting so much favour. And like Liverpool against Spurs, where Liverpool had that goal disallowed. Oh, but then you go to the next game, and didn't Liverpool have a goal allowed that shouldn't have been allowed or something like that? The whole thing is just, it's not even swings and roundabouts at the moment. It's just a roller coaster ride. No one's got any idea whether you're going to get away with stuff. And just get rid of VAR completely because you cannot celebrate. I didn't celebrate the goal. I was watching it with Sean's mum came and she was here and she was clapping like a seal wanting dinner. Like you're throwing a bit of haddock at her, and I didn't celebrate because I've lost all enthusiasm for celebrating goals because there's no point. I mean, the Spurs ones I did because you think, well, at any moment it could be disallowed. And I said to her, I think I might have tweeted, how are they going to disallow this one? Yeah. Because there is so much corruption going on. And maybe we should do a podcast on it. We said it a couple of weeks ago. All the leagues that have had corruption in it, all the international games that have had corruption. If you think there is no corruption going on in the Premier League, boys and girls, mums and dads, cats and dogs, then you are delusional. Southeast Asian betting syndicates, they are notorious for it. It's going to come out in years. There wasn't it. Nottingham Forest lost a Europa League Cup, or some team lost. Malmo won it, or some nonsense, and then 30, 40 years later, the referee went, "Yeah, I'd been bribed." That took 40 years to come out. And 108 charges, FC. Stuff is going to come out in the future.
115, I believe it is.
That should be 115 plus another 20 or 30 from this season. If people don't think there's corruption going on, I don't know with who or any kind of level, but there is stuff going on because this is happening far too often. And then all the PGMOL goes, what's your problem? What are you going to do about it? And like Klopp says, I can't afford to keep getting fined for when I want to have my say on things. And personally, I'd have a direct debit to the FA every month for 20 grand, and I'd say exactly what the fuck I wanted if I was a manager. And I would then have a press conference, and I'd have a pointy screen, I'd have my laser, and I'd go, look at this, look at that, do this isn't right here. But even Match of the Day don't talk about it the way they should do. They gloss over a lot of stuff, don't they?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's why I started not watching it, because the highlights are just not really.
I just hate Gary Lineker, and I hate all those other pricks on there. The only time it's worth watching is when Ian Wright's on there.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I tend to grab my football highlights now in short form. Like that's just how I, occasionally if I'm on YouTube and I see that there's a list of the goals, or Sky do quite a good quick fire package of the goals only, and that's it for me. But
look at this from Russ Morgan. Read what he's put there.
Say Michael Evans. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I should have mentioned that. You're absolutely right, Russ. Yeah, I mean it is. It is
Read it out
silly.
for the boys and girls not watching.
Same Michael Oliver sent off Martinelli for 2 yellows in the same passage of play. He didn't want to affect the game. Do me a favour. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, I remember the Martinelli one. That was absolutely crazy, wasn't it? Absolutely bonkers.
And it's never going to get any better, is it? Because they don't give a fuck.
But we do have to caveat when you said there about it's not VAR. It's the people behind the machines.
It's the interpretation.
Yeah, it is.
And
God knows what's going to happen when we get this thing that they've got in the Champions League with the offside automated. Yeah, I mean, it's either going to make it a lot better or it's going to go horribly wrong.
I say let ChatGPT be the referee of all the games. Instant reactions, a few memes thrown in, and then because the PGMRL are morally bankrupt and corrupt, and they do not give a damn about the beautiful game, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. That's the gist of it. Look at that. I've gone attitude here, all on your ass. Sorry about that.
You have. And what's more going to happen as well? Like Guns and Yellow Ribbons has put in the chat there, like just cancelled all my Sky and TNT packages. They're fueling the opportunity to compromise the game. It's hard to disagree with that. I think it's hard to disagree with that. But anyway,
that's Fergus.
There you go. Let's get back to the football because referees and whatever. I think we're all in agreement that Kovacic was, and I genuinely like to think I'm pretty measured on. There's plenty of times where I've called people have been raging about Arsenal red cards, and I've gone, nah, it's a red. Let's be honest. Look, I'm quite realistic in them, but that one for me was a bit of a joke. But the weird thing about this game is there isn't a lot to talk about because the game itself was. I don't think it was a bad game, but it was just very technically, it was almost above chess. Like it was a higher level. It was just tactical. And I think arguably what probably swung this game was those substitutions, wasn't it? Because City brought on Doku, who, by the way, for everyone getting excited, Jeremy Doku at Rennes is a classic YouTube player. Those who know. He put up a brilliant YouTube reel of his 4 or 5 different stunning goals in a season, and then he'll go missing for 20 games. So Ben White says hi.
Have you been surprised by the number of not top tier signings that Man City made this summer?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you get the feeling that maybe the owners of 115 Charges FC have taken their foot off the pedal because they've won 4 out of the last 5 Premier Leagues, and they finally won the Champions League? Do you think they're maybe going? I mean, look at you got Kovacic. Don't rate him. 25 million. Gabriel, never heard of him. Doku, 55 million.
Vardiol's very good, to be fair. They have been tracking him for a while. Yeah, he was at Leipzig, Croatian international. Yeah.
Nunes from Wolves.
That's a weird
million.
One. Yeah, that's a weird one.
These are Kovacic wasn't wanted. I think his time is done. And then they got a couple of players, one from Wimbledon, and then another one from West Ham, and that's it. Where's the world class signings to come and take the position of?
That's the word, Gundogan and Mahrez. Yes. That's. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. That's the bit that I don't really understand. They lost Gundogan, who was on his day world class. Certainly wasn't a City shirt.
Saved them so many times last season with the odd goal here and there.
Yeah, and Mahrez. People forget how good Mahrez was at Leicester before they got him in. And that's what I thought was a weird one because I just think if they were going to bring in a replacement for them, they could have done a lot more with the money than Doku. And Nunes, I think he's all right, but I'm not sure he's nowhere near Gundogan level. And I think but then. Don't forget, they were in for Declan Rice, who we'll come on to in a minute. So, maybe there is that argument of that was the player they wanted.
I bet they saw his performance at the weekend and went, ooh. Someone I know, Apollo, tweeted, it's very rare that we we pay 105 million for a player and think we've got a bargain.
Excuse me. Yeah, well, look at it this way. I mean, let's talk about now while we're on the subject. He's a player who he makes the game look quite effortless. And one of the things I like about Reiss is his tackling style. He's one of those players who can make a tackle, but then sort of retain the ball in the tackle, if you know what I mean. Like he doesn't overcommit and put himself out of the game in order to win the ball. He does that sort of one-legged lunge thing where he'll take the ball and then move us back onto the attack. He's got those sort of octopus type legs. very rarely fouls unless it's a cynical foul to stop an attack, which, Rodri's been doing very well for years. So we could do with a bit more of that. He's clearly a bit of a silent leader. And the biggest compliment I can pay him is, when was the last time you heard anyone asking how much we paid for him again? Because that was all the rage in the summer, wasn't it? 100 million, blah, 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 blah. No one mentions his price tag now, do they? Not one person. So I think he has been. Bless you, it's catching.
It took a while. Speed of light. Speed of sound.
It's taken a bit of time. But yeah, I think I think we clearly identified him over a year ago. We clearly did the due diligence, and I just think
summer before we offered about 50-60 million for him, and we thought, oh, that's a bit much
for Reiss.
Yeah, they didn't want to let him go. I mean, how old is he? He's 20. 24? He's 25 in January.
Yeah.
Wow.
24 till he's 25.
It doesn't rely on pace. He could be at Arsenal for most of the players can be here for the next decade.
Well, he's got that Vieira Petit style, hasn't he? Whether he's going to go on to be as good as them, win as much as them, but he's got that style. He's got that rangy movement. He covers ground effortlessly. He looks fitter now than he did when he first joined, because he did look like he was blowing a bit in the summer. And I think that a lot of that comes down to style of play. David Moyes obviously doesn't play the style of football like we do with West Ham, so I think he had to transition into that. But I feel like he's very quietly, him and the two centre-backs have very quietly become absolutely key to this team, and that's not to underplay the Odegaards, the Sakas, the fit again Jesus. Like, there's obviously very key parts in other places of the team, but that is to use the cliche, that's your spine, isn't it? Those two centre backs playing with Reiss in front. And I also thought, because we were just saying about the substitutions, when Mikel brought on those three subs, we've been critical of him in the past. Those three were literally game-changing. They all had a hand in the goal. And I like the pass from Partey, where he sort of receives it from deep. That's the one area that I think Reiss will probably work on in his game, is long-range passing. But Partey's ball into Havertz, who also, really did well, I thought, to control that and bring it down. And sure, there's an element of fortune in Martinelli's strike. Of course there is. The header back from Tomiyasu as well. Centre-forward Tomiyasu, you got to love that. But it was a really well-crafted goal. And I just think that everything good that we did on Sunday evolved around those two centre-backs, keeping City completely quiet, and through that midfield area with Reiss, because he's so important now. That's the only worry, isn't it, when you spend that much money on such a key player, as City are finding out with Rodri. 3 games out and they've lost 3 of them. Well, I think he played in one of them, actually. I think he played at Newcastle. But
I want to share something with you here.
Go for it.
There you go. Put us down the bottom. I can't play the video. This is I download all the games. Reiss has just got the ball off of this 27, and then Foden has ran through about 4 players. And at this point, Partey, who's just come back from injury, clatters into him, gets the ball off him, and then runs off with the ball. And then how much of this we're going to get away with showing, but look at that.
Yeah.
Does that to him.
Yeah.
And then we get the ball, and then Foden gets up and starts shouting and screaming and crying, and he's banging. At the end of the game, he went to his mate, held up 3 fingers and went 3 times, and he was banging on the side of his leg.
I don't rate him.
Party shows.
I don't rate him at all, by the way. Just never have rated Foden. I think he's absolute fraud. Phil Fodder, as I call him. But that was fantastic. You're right.
Party, and I was saying to you before that people have updated Arteta's favourite things. There we go. We think that's his current favourite Arsenal lineup, but I think that is the future of the Arsenal lineup.
I think I've got potential. Yeah, I do.
Taking out Havertz and put in Partey, because Partey is captain of Ghana. He's a world-class player on his day, as we saw so often last season. And when you've got Reiss and Partey in the same team, both really good range of passing, really top of their game, and with Odegaard, that'll free up Odegaard to go and tack a little bit more forward. But I think that 11 there can go on and win the title. And then there was something that someone who knows stuff about, I think it's Gary Neville, put here we go, another little picture that I've got up here, waiting for it to load. There you go. It's a picture of Gabriel lifting up Saliba, and the quote is, the two centre-backs and Reiss are the most important players to keep fit. They won't win the league without them, and that's Gary Neville saying that on those
so that's
two.
literally what I just said. So essentially, he's ripped off my quote, even though he said it first. That's
No, I mean, he's only just said it right now, and I've managed to go and screen grab it there.
Oh, there you go. He's obviously watching.
So this is another funny one. This is a fake Twitter one. Saliba, quote, "When I felt bored in the game, I passed the ball to Haaland and then took it back again."
Yeah, there was plenty of the old shaking out pockets memes. The Guns and Yellow Ribbons made another good point in the chat as well, where you were saying about Reiss.
Call him Fergus.
Okay, Fergus has made a good point in the chat. When he said, do you see him as an expensive player now? Because the media made out like it was a mega deal, but win the league or Champions League, we get 50% of the fee back. I think, and you're right, Fergus, you're absolutely spot on. I think the only issue with that is we've got to win it first. But in the modern era, and it actually kind of sickens me to say this, but in the modern era, £100 million is not really that much, is it? It's just not. If you want the true elite players, you have to pay those figures, and we saw that with the Højlund deal at Manchester United. Like a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's overpriced." He's this. I was like, "No, this kid's got a lot." Like, I was quite upset when they got him because he's a very good player, and he's starting to show it already. But they still had to pay the best part of 80, 90 million to get him without him really ever having done anything. Whereas Reiss had won a European trophy and it come through, West Ham's youth setup, and I think he was in the Chelsea academy, wasn't he? So
only for a little while.
Yeah, didn't have that smear on him. But going back to those best lineups, I suppose we wouldn't be an Arsenal podcast if we didn't drag up the goalkeepers again, because I suppose we've got to. I don't really want to treat this as a Raya versus Ramsdale thing, because I think at this point it's very clear that Raya is his number one. It just is. He might as well say it. What did you make of? Because the one thing that I did hear when I was on my walk and listening to the game rather than watching it, because I had earphones in and the 5 Live commentators are obviously quite close to the ground, or quite close to the crowd, I did hear a lot of unsettled supporters when Raya was on the ball. Well, that one where it looked like he'd almost clipped it against the City player into his own net, I think it was Alvarez. On Radio 5, they thought they'd almost announced it as a goal because it went to the side netting, didn't it? And I was like, oh, God, that's going to be the headline. What did you make of... I mean, Mikel was very quick to big him up after the game, wasn't he? It was an instruction, wasn't it? It was clearly a tactic. Hold the ball as long as you can. Make City press you. Drag them out of position. Yeah. And to his great credit, after a pretty terrible first half, he was much better in the second half. And arguably, some of his passing kept us, particularly when we went in front, his passing was excellent. So where do you sit on it? Because we've got to separate this. We love Ramsdale as a bloke compared to ability. We've got to separate it, haven't we?
Yeah, I put in our WhatsApp group, fuck Arteta, fuck football, fuck Raya, because I just knew they were going to fuck up and we were going to lose. But then after the game, Arteta was quoted as saying that he has told him, keep the ball, play it out of defence, don't care how long you keep it for. That was the gist of it. But I was getting so frustrated when he was doing that, because we've seen so many years of that playing out, a goalkeeper playing it out from the back, broke Czech. And then it broke Leno. And then Ramsdale was struggling with it. And then Ramsdale kind of mastered it, but he was also a bit of a tit with it. I often say with Ramsdale, you look at him when he's playing football and it's like he's watching cartoons in his brain rather than concentrating on the game, which is why we concede so many goals early on. Not all his fault, but it does annoy me. And when you see Raya doing that, you think, oh my God, it's the same bloody thing again. We were so close to that, nearly conceding a goal. But then in other parts of the game, you see him and you're going, he's passing that out, like passing the ball out from the back, like Hullet when he was near the end and he was playing in, was it an anchor position when you play ahead of the back four, because behind the back four is a sweeper. Ahead of the back four on Football Manager is an anchor. And so that's where Ruud Hullet was playing it. And he was pinging the balls all over the pitch. And Lothar Matthäus did the same kind of thing when he dropped deeper and deeper, these world-class players. And when you've got a player, as we've seen, I know you should never go full, what's his name? The Bayern goalkeeper, we say we should never go full.
Neuer.
never go full Neuer. And we've seen that he's injured, isn't he? Because he went skiing. But to see when it does work, and it is working more often than it isn't, another clean sheet. We messed up against Lens in the week before, and I think I've got no explanation for that. But to see when that works with Raya, when he's doing what Arteta tells him to do, it's magnificent. It's unstoppable. When you've got a goalkeeper who can get the ball and kick it the length of the field or 3/4 length of the field down to a non-running winger, how do you stop that? We saw when Ramsdale first signed for us, he was doing that as well. And it was wonderful, and it worked, and it was great. And then, because it takes quite a hefty kick, we saw that Ramsdale went down, and he was holding his hip. And I think maybe Ramsdale had stopped doing it, either because it wasn't working enough or because he's got a sore hip. But Raya's doing it, and he can even do it while he's holding the ball, hold it in his hands, and then launch it downfield. And that opens up a whole new avenue. When you have got Saka and Martinelli on those wings, who people can't catch with the ball anyway, and if you catch them on, and that brings a whole new meaning to the word counter-attack, when your goalkeeper is quarterbacking it from inside his area down to the wings. It's just wonderful, and it's working better and better, isn't it?
It is. I go back and forth on this. Like I said it previously, and I'm still in the same camp. I think Raya is the better goalkeeper. I just do. And that has nothing to do with my English bias, anti-English bias. I do think he's a better keeper. The only thing that slightly bugs me about it, and again, this is the whole me being stuck in the 90s. I'm not quite born in the 80s, but 90s was me growing up football-wise. I know the modern game evolves, but I kind of just want my goalkeeper to be a good goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I understand.
And I just sort of wonder if maybe, and again, this is not to criticise, because obviously he did turn the performance around on Sunday, and his distribution is very good. But I kind of want my goalkeeper to I want him to have a big personality, which Ramsdale clearly has. I mean, I'm not saying Raya doesn't, but Ramsdale audibly has, sometimes to his detriment. And I want my goalkeeper to come and claim crosses, make the big saves in the key moments. I'm basically describing David Seaman, really, aren't I? But I just think that if you've got a goalkeeper who is a bit, I don't know if erratic's the right word, because I don't think either of them are erratic, but I don't know. Even when you see Ederson and Alisson doing it, I just think to myself, like, I want a goalkeeper who can just do what they're in the goal to do, and that's stop it, And I always think, like, yes, you can get the team moving quickly, but how much quicker would it be just to give it to a fullback? It's not like it's any slower, is it? Giving it to a fullback who's very technically gifted. So, I don't know.
Is it the element of surprise? Because maybe, to give it the goalkeeper to give it to the centre back and the fullback, and then the fullback to then start the attacking run or whatever he's going to do, that's going to take 2 seconds. But for the goalie to get it, you don't know whether he's going to pass it out to the centre backs, which we often do, and build up play there, roll it out to a wing back and do it there, or give it to Reiss, who will come and get it and then distribute it. But if you do it straight from the goalkeeper, you go, fuck, they're off, shit. And if you're not watching it, which a lot of players in the Premier League are, they don't really watch what's going on some of the time. If you can catch them unawares, then that's a massive advantage. And I think that's why he's got them. Hopefully, Ramsdale will learn from him. Because Raya isn't going to be our goalkeeper for the next decade, is he? Because he'll be 38 by then.
Well, technically, yeah. I suppose he's a bit older. But let's be honest, if Raya keeps his place, Ramsdale will go at the end of the season. He's not going to sit there and be second choice. The one thing I would say is I think Raya is probably the better choice in Europe, because I think his style is perfect for European football. I just, but I don't know. It doesn't vex me. It doesn't keep me up at night. Like, I don't go back and forth. I like Ramsdale, and he proved me wrong, because I was one of those people going, we spent how much on who when we got him. But I just think that I think Raya is an upgrade. I just wonder, I keep coming back to this. Was he the upgrade we needed when we got it? I'd rather we spent that money on a striker, personally, which is maybe another area we can pivot into.
Well, I would like to have spent it on a striker. We've got a young man in the chat called Jeff Hullef. The way we are trying to play by using a keeper as a centre back will invite mistakes from time to time. The point is to free up an outfield player. we aren't the only team doing this. And I sent Mr. Hullen for under 26-minute WhatsApp message last night using floating windows because I made notes of the message he sent me. And he said you've been sending him unsolicited messages too.
I do. Well, I wouldn't say daily, but we converse at least 3 times a week. Yeah.
Yes. Good.
Back and forth.
Talking of people who used to be on the pod, a certain Mr. John Welsh in the top right-hand corner there has got his new place and he's got his internet and he'll be back giving wise words and making ladies moist.
John and the internet, what could possibly go wrong? But yeah, no, it'd be good. It'd be good to have John back. It's been a long time. Be good to have him back on. Do you want to? Because this is very much a sea of positive podcasts, and just to give you guys all a heads up, it probably will be a bit shorter tonight because it is just me and Danny, and we can't polish a turd. But but should we, as much as we have bigged up the positives and there's plenty. Do we have to have another conversation about that centre forward area? Because you're right in saying Jesus did start wide, and I must admit when I was listening to the radio coverage and I heard that, I did roll my eyes. I was like, he's done it again. But it took, let's not forget, it took a substitute in Martinelli, who I thought was excellent, by the way, second half, considering he had half a hamstring. I thought he was brilliant. It took him coming on to give us a real goal threat, because Jesus was working his arse off, but he was doing it in arguably the wrong position when he was out wide.
Yeah,
I just don't think Eddie really gave us anything. He worked hard, but he
never does. The only thing he did in the game was that big smile at the end of it when Arteta was giving him a big hug.
Yeah.
It does not work. If a team is seeing Eddie up front, the team playing against us is going to go, oh, good, they're playing Nketiah. Right, one of the centre-backs can have a more attacking role. It doesn't work. It's never going to work. He is incapable of turning it on a regular basis against men. He can do it against young men, like he did for the under-21s and for the Arsenal reserves, for the under-17s, 18s, 20s, whatever which one it was. But he is not going to do it in the Premier League. Even if he played 38 games a season for us, all 90 minutes, he probably wouldn't even get 10 goals. Because his body language, it doesn't look like... He looks like a kid who's been sent to tidy up his room. He doesn't look like he's enjoying it. It looks like it doesn't have the confidence, which is, I don't know if that's what Arteta is hoping he's going to get from him. He's going to get confidence, but he's doing absolutely nothing. I mean, just looking at his stats here, Premier League games in his entire career, he has played, here it is, 97 Premier League games, 16 goals. That's not good. I mean, he's got 2 this season, and to give him his dues, that's good. And he's managed to get us a couple of penalties, but by being brought down, so that he's had 4 goal contributions. If you were pushing it this season, that's not enough. Last season, 4 goals in 30 Premier League games. Majority of them, yes, would have been substitution, and 2 of those, 50% of his goals were in one game against Man United that got us points. Yeah. But if you see what Arteta should have done, he should have had Jesus up front, and he should have had Martinelli on the left, and he should have had Nelson on the right, which is the whole point of keeping Nelson at the club. So when Saka isn't playing, you play Nelson on the right, and Nelson has shown he has got something about the lad. But Eddie, no.
The problem with Reiss is he plays better from the left, doesn't he? That's the problem there. So he's almost the Martinelli backup. And Trossard obviously left with a hamstring injury as well, which is what gave Martinelli that opportunity to come on and play. Yeah. I just think the argument with Eddie, whether you like him, I don't mean as a person, I mean as a player, whether you like him or you don't, it sort of flies in the face when Mikel says he wants, world-class players in every position. Well, we haven't got that. We haven't got any world-class strikers, really. And that's not to be critical of Jesus, because I think what he does for the team is there's no other player in Europe that could do what he does. He's a brilliant player. He plays in forward.
5 positions at once.
Yeah, and he's so fundamental to our press and everything he does, but he's not any more than a 15-goal a season striker. I just think that, whether you talk about Ivan Toney, whether you're talking about Ollie Watkins, whether you're talking about another from whomever, Mr. Boblex just said about the forward from final, which I imagine would be Jimenez, the Mexican, I would have thought, if that's who he means. But yeah, I just think there is an upgrade to be made there. And if we're both arguing over Ramsdale, Raya, arguably 2 world-class goalkeepers, and yet we haven't got one world-class centre forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's probably, and again, Edu, Miko, etc. They may well have irons in fires. They might be planning this already. I think
Watkins has just signed a new contract, hasn't he?
Yeah, and we wouldn't have gone for Watkins. He's too similar to what we've got. But I think there was an article on Sky the other day. I think I saw somewhere where Arteta dropped a hint about us forward. I can't remember. It's in one of his presses, and someone attributed it as a hint to what he might want in a forward. But
where's Scoop Collins when we need him?
I know, terrible. But yeah, I'd say you have to be so careful in this modern world. We upset people, but it's not a case of not liking Eddie. And while he's in the shirt, you'll always back him. But I almost feel like even he knows he's probably not good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like
Noses says here, I'm still adamant we should have spent the Kai's money on a striker in the summer and plus evening, all because 65 million. I mean, when John does come back, John has started up the official Kai Havertz Protection League, and he will have nothing bad said against him.
I'm a founding member of that with him, so yeah.
Yeah, but he's not going to. I don't think he's ever going to do what he does for Germany, what he has done back in his day. Was it Leverkusen he was playing at before?
Yeah, it was at Leverkusen. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, but
he's not a left eight.
But that's the problem, isn't it? That this is the issue. It's not the player. It's the fact that we've signed a player arguably for the wrong position. I think his best position is the Odegaard role, is as a 10 or a false 9, and we're not really going to play him there. That's an argument then. If you're going to say, while Saka's out, you're going to play Jesus wide or whatever, but we expect Saka to be back after the international break, right? So then that sort of answers your question, doesn't it? Because Eddie drops to the bench, you bring in Jesus up front. I think there's a stat going round that we're currently sat joint top of the table, and we've played 10 games this season, all comps, and not one time have 13, and not one game have our first choice front three started together yet. So, we've got that to come, and I suppose the argument is, while Odegaard is twatting him in from 25 yards, and you're getting goals from the bench from Trossard, and you're getting the goal output from Saka and Martinelli, brilliant. But my worry is when that dries up, or when there is a spell where one of those or two of those is out injured, or goes through a lean spell, that's when you need your plan B. And I personally would be in favour of, if we're in a situation again where we haven't got Jesus or one of the two wide men, I'd probably be tempted to put Kai as a false 9 and actually play him as more of a forward player, not a striker, but as a forward-based player. But yeah, I mean, for me, there's a player there. Absolutely, he's a quality footballer, Havertz. But there's just a lot of things that haven't quite melded with our style yet, and that's what we're all waiting to see. But again, we're not going to complain because
Well, things are very good at the moment. James Johnson, friend of the pod, said, I'm also baffled that Havertz's 2 best games for Arsenal have been against the best sides in Europe as a false 9. The experiment of him at 8 is finished, especially if Partey is back fit. James has his own YouTube channel, James Johnson Football. So there you can go. Another one that I recommend. He's a lovely bloke and he knows what he's talking about. And he also gives great hair advice. He's the only gooner on podcasting world that Kris is jealous of. That's a fact, isn't it?
It is. It's a very, very good head of hair.
So yeah, go to YouTube, James Johnson Football, and also go and Fergus and Trev's one, the Guns and Yellow Ribbons podcast. Both of them, just like us, they do it for the fun of it, and they make sense. Yeah. So what do you think about what James said?
I think, yeah, I do tend to agree that the Partey Reiss axis probably works better. I think we have to get our heads around the idea that in the modern day there isn't any such thing as a strongest 11, a first choice 11, if you will.
Yeah.
I think we have to. Thanks, Phil, for that comment. Love that. I think we have to. I wish I was as funny as Bill Bailey, but still, the hairline is definitely going that way. But I think we have to accept the fact that in the modern game, as we know it, you almost have to pick the players for the opposition rather than just trotting out the same 11 each week. no offense, but if you are playing Bolton, sorry, when did Bolton get back to the Premier League? Christ. If you were playing Burnley, Luton, Sheffield United and Bournemouth back to back every 4 weeks, you could pretty much play any of Trossard, Martinelli, Saka. You could play any of them anywhere, and we'd probably have enough. It wouldn't be an issue, right? And equally, you could play Havertz in midfield, and it wouldn't be fine. It would be absolutely fine. But in these big games, I think you probably do have to stack the midfield a bit more. And I thought Jorginho actually was pretty decent on Sunday, considering he got an early booking. I thought he managed his game really well, and he looked a bit more mobile than I think some people give him credit for. He had a couple of good interceptions, good passing range. So I think James is right. I think probably the Partey linked with Reiss is probably what you're going to see, particularly when we go. I think the first game back after the break is Chelsea away, isn't it? So I wouldn't be at all surprised if that was the midfield that you see at Chelsea, depending on other injuries or whatnot. Whoever comes back fit. I mean, Partey's gone away with Ghana, so he'll probably come back with half a leg next week, because that's what usually happens.
Have we sent anyone to go with him to make sure he behaves himself?
I hope so. Yeah, I was going to say something then, but I won't. But I think you will see more of that. But I'm not sure I do agree that the Havertz at 8 is finished. Not because I personally don't want to see it finished, but I think Mikel is. We all know Mikel. Like, we know he flogged that Partey at right back until he literally couldn't do it anymore.
Until he got a letter from Partey's mum saying cease and desist.
Yeah, I think I think you'll still see Havertz in midfield, but I don't know. I'm not sure it works, and in a weird way, I'd almost like to see what we could do if we dropped Odegaard into more of an 8. And put Havertz into a 10. That would be something that would be more interesting.
He's the more attacking player, isn't he?
Yeah, and I haven't seen anyone suggest that, but I think that Odegaard is far more suited to a box-to-box 8 than Havertz is. Havertz is a finisher and a creator close in, whereas I think Odegaard could do that role. I think he's done it for Norway before. So yeah, it's one that will run, and I think we'll probably have many more conversations about that in the next few weeks, months, season. So,
but we do. If we want to build this season, then we need to get the best out of Havertz, and I think maybe you're not going to spend 65 million on him and then drop him, are you? I mean, we've massively overpaid for him. The player was massively out of form. And I really don't think it's going to work. Hope it does, because he is. You see, you just go on YouTube him when he was at. I keep wanting to say Kaiserslautern.
Leverkusen.
Leverkusen.
Yeah.
Anything with a K in it. Go and have a look at him at Crew. But it was. You go and look at that, and you think there is a player there, but he seems to be. He needs to run to the touchline and have a little hug with Arteta every 5 minutes, and go, "You're doing well, Kai."
Yeah, but that's
well.
That's confidence. That's confidence, though, isn't it? That will come. Like that will come. So I mean, I think with Kai, he needs an arm around his back. I like the fact that the fans united to get kind of on his side. That made me happy. But we can't have it both ways. You can't bang on about his price tag and 65 this, 65 that, and then say, oh yeah, but we need squad depth. What would you rather have? 2 million Sambi Lokonga sat on the bench, or an international German by Havertz. Which do you want? Do you know what I mean? So as long as he's happy to fight for his place, and I think if you asked him directly if he's been in good form, I think he would admit he struggled. I don't think he's not stupid. He's clearly an intelligent player. Like, I don't think he would be stupid enough to say, "Yeah, I'm playing great. How on earth am I not in the side?" I think he knows he's struggling a bit, but.
Everyone should give him at least halfway through until after Christmas, and then see.
I give him the season.
I mean, before you start complaining too much.
Oh yeah,
he hasn't got a settled position. He's playing in a new side. He's playing in a quality side, and to try and catch up to the speed everyone else is at. I mean, it's amazing. Declan has got into the team, and he's virtually fantastic every single game. But he's also the teammate of so many of the players at the club.
Yeah. And he's one of those players that adapted just quicker. He's just one of those. That's just what's happened. And I think the other thing as well with Kai is that if you look at it from a perspective of players that we've brought in over the years that have or haven't worked, they're not just going to give up on him because he's had a couple of games where it hasn't quite worked. He strikes me as one of those players that if something goes right for him, it's not necessarily just a goal, but a big moment can transform a whole player's career, a whole player's situation. So much can change, So, and Chelsea away next. I mean, that would be quite poetic, wouldn't it?
Hopefully, it's absolutely. Bob Lex has put a question in there about it, but England are playing Australia in the Football Ashes. That on the Totally Football show, meaningless. I don't watch cricket. I don't watch any of those other sports. But Eddie in the England squad for the second time in a row. Do you think he would get a game?
I didn't even know he got in. Well, judging by Southgate last time, no, he won't because he just took him along and didn't use him, did he? So I don't think he will. I mean, yeah. The one that really gets me, I know we've already covered Eddie, but when I watch Balogun at Monaco and he's settling now,
got a couple of goals, hasn't he?
Yeah, he got a banger at the weekend. Although he missed a couple of penalties a few weeks ago, I just wonder if him and Eddie hadn't have had the same agent and the contract situations were reversed. I think we know which one we would have kept. That's how I see it. I think that the only issue with, Balogun wanted to play, so we were always going to sell him. But if his contracts had been the length of Eddie's and Eddie's had been the length of Flo's, I think we would have seen a very different situation. And from Arteta's point of view, he's not going to come out of the press and go, well, I like Eddie, but he's a bit shit, but we're stuck with him. So, let's give him some games, lads. He's not going to do that, is he? So he's obviously going to praise him to the hilt and make him feel fantastic, and rightly so, because that's a manager's job. But
I'd like Eddie to score a hat-trick on his debut for England against Australia. I mean, Australia, they lost 2-1 to Ecuador. They played Argentina twice recently and Ecuador twice.
I'll put my head on the block and say he doesn't get a minute while he's on England duty. And to be fair, Watkins should play ahead of him on form. So
should do.
Yeah. But anyway, I think overall, although it probably sounds like we're like doom and gloom here, we're not. It's a fantastic result, and it's I sort of I don't know if anybody else, maybe yourself, Danny, or people in the chat, but I feel like it's like we're joint top of the league, and I don't really feel like we've got going this season yet at all. I really don't. I think barring that performance at home to PSV and at stages in the Man United game, and arguably in the first half against Spurs before Declan Rice went off, I just don't think we've really. I mean, because even Bournemouth, I don't think we were brilliant at Bournemouth. They were just terrible. Yeah. So I don't think we've hit anywhere near top gear, and that. It could be quite exciting because if there's levels for this side to go up to, but the Chelsea game on when we come back is important because I wouldn't say they're on the up, but they put a couple of results together.
They've kind of leveled out.
Yeah, we need to go up to the £1 ditch and slap them around a bit and make sure they know their place because we don't want to give them any false hope this season. So that'll be an interesting one to come back to for sure.
Yeah, hopefully the Saka's not gone on international duty, so he'll finally get a rest. That means that's 3 games for club and country in a row that he's missed, which will be fantastic.
Yeah, Trossard and Saliba as well. Trossard and Saliba are both staying home as well. Trossard's got a hamstring tweak, and Saliba has a sore toe, which I'm led to believe is not serious. I think it's one of those that he had to have an injection in, but with rest he should be all right. So I think it was wise to pull him out. So yeah, that should be all right there.
But it is. I'm on tenterhooks, as they say, with the fact that we are so close to being able to fall apart this season, and we haven't seen the continuation of the football that we played up until the last 5 games of last season. That scintillating, tantalising, effervescent football that you looked at and went, I can't believe my team are playing this kind of football week in, week out, destroying people. Like you said, we've seen it against PSV, and that's it.
Yeah.
And little flashes every now and then. And you think, we've got most of our players, we've got our virtual best 11 playing. We're still not doing it. But that leaves me to hope that when something clicks, we'll blow somebody away. Because that PSV result was coming, wasn't it? We were
we were sort of suggesting that we were starting to find some form, and then it kind of continued on from there. So I'd say I want to. I don't mind us being quote unquote boring too much. I don't mind us grinding out a few results.
Oh yeah, sign of a good team. Not being in great form and still top of the league. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, look at Spurs. I mean, Spurs they've had an open top bus parade, and they've beaten what? Sheffield United, Luton.
We've got all them to come.
Powerhouses of teams, you know.
I mean, that's them claiming they're the best because they're top of the league on goals scored. It's like us claiming we're top of the league on alphabetical order. Same thing. It's meaningless.
It's a trophy to them. Let's not forget that. And they have beaten arguably the worst Man United team in the history of Man United at home, and they got a leg up to beat Liverpool. And as I say, they've beaten those giants in Sheffield United and Luton and was it Burnley? I think they beat as well. So I mean, yeah, obviously they're huge results, you know. So
Avon makes a good point here. Other than the last 20 minutes against City, we haven't had Odegaard, Partey and Reiss on the pitch at the same time. We haven't had Jesus, Saka and Martinelli on the pitch together yet. Like those pictures that I was showing, that, Timmy's awake. He's just been banging his head against. He's going like that in his dreams and banging his face against the table. So, yeah, when he does get his best 11, if we can get his Arteta's best 11 in a run of a couple of games, not that one, this one, with Partey, Reiss and Odegaard, front three like that team, 10 games in a row, which is never going to bloody happen, but if it did, they would be unstoppable. They are better than Man City.
Well, you look at our fixtures coming up when we get back from this dreaded interlull. So it's Chelsea away, followed by Sevilla away, followed by Sheffield United at home, away to West Ham, away to Newcastle, home to Sevilla. And then you got Burnley, Brentford, Lens. So, I mean, it's a pretty big month, really, isn't it? Chelsea, Sevilla, Sheffield United, West Ham, Newcastle. Yes. I mean, it's a pretty big 3 to 4 weeks now for results.
Newcastle are the surprise package this season after their terrible start. Yeah. They're now back on it.
But I still don't really buy a lot of what they're doing. I still don't. I still think you can get at them. And again, they've played some pretty good sides. They've also played some pretty bad sides, and that PSG result, I don't really buy too much into it because PSG literally turned up with 5 forwards. I mean, they were there to be shot at, so I don't think you can read too much into how bad they were. So I just think that Chelsea game, although Chelsea are dog shit at the moment, I still think it's quite a big game. It still feels like a big game anyway.
True. Are we done? There was some pictures that I wanted to share. There was I do like a little bit of Arsenal artwork. There's this bloke called Anders Pedersen at Andy Cloned, and he's done this lovely little quad picture of circles with Arsenal stuff inside it. He does a little bit of Arsenal art. I think that's really good.
Yeah,
I like the way that he's used the right colours for that. Also, he's done an Arsenal badge, which is still better than the shit we got at the moment. Then we've got this one here.
Hand painted, it looks like as well.
No idea. We've got someone's edited the Peaky Blinders with North London. North London is red and all the players in there, and a little bit shonky in places, but it was funny. And then the other two I've already shown you, and you got this one here of Arteta and Pep on the ground. We can't decide whether that's been photoshopped at all because they are very close together. I think maybe they were both doing it during the game, but they've been chopped up.
Yeah.
Arteta celebrating on the 94th minute. Our run of games against Man City. God, that's depressing, isn't it?
Yeah. It had to end at some point, let's be honest. A lot of scores to 0 as well, isn't there, in that? Cracky.
We've not had the best of times for it. And then, top of the table. We're first on alphabetically, which is how it works. I should have edited that and put us top.
I wonder who the scum have got next as well.
They have got...
Probably some blind team at home or something.
They are at home to Fulham, away to Palace, home to Chelsea.
Okay, so yeah, realistically, they're probably going to win the next 2, and they've got Chelsea, and that one's always a bit spicy. So yeah. But I'm not worried about them.
No.
You know, they can have their moment. I quite like their delusion. I'm quite enjoying them thinking that they're back. I don't know where they came back from, but apparently they're back, so that's great. But yeah, they can have their delusion. The two that I look at as our direct rivals right now are City and Liverpool, just because I think Liverpool are getting there. I think they're still a little bit short, but they're getting there. And City, you know, they are that archangel of doom hanging over you. You know that they're going to put together a run of 15 successive wins or something ludicrous over the Christmas period into the new year, and then that's why this result was so important. Is at some point in the season you have to take points off City because they're not going to drop them elsewhere, or very unlikely to. The fact they've dropped 3 at Wolves and now dropped 3 directly to us as a rival. And have they played? Did they play Liverpool? They have played Liverpool, so haven't they? Or have they?
No idea.
I think they've played Liverpool. I'm sure they played them earlier on in the season. But yeah, and I think I'm right in saying as well, City played Man United in 2 weeks. So, and normally you'd go, well, nice easy result that for City. But again, a derby, you just never know, do you? And I think it's at Old Trafford. So yeah, I think winning against City was crucial because you've got to take points off them, and we've done that. So now we can just get on with our own fixtures. We can't now go and lose to Chelsea because that would just set us back where we started.
Yeah, need to keep pushing on, keep getting better, doing what we're doing, and then the sprinkles and the sparkles will start adding themselves to the games as we go along. But we are bedding in two new players. It should be 3. Are you a little bit concerned about how often Zinchenko gives the ball away?
Yes. Yeah. But again, the problem with Zinchenko is he's rent-free in some people's heads at the moment, which is I find quite funny. But we're not going to go down that route because that will upset a lot of people. But I've seen a lot of very angry little Timmies on Twitter this week for someone daring to share their personal views. Anyway, and by the way, just to clarify, it is horrific what's going on now. I'm not for a minute suggesting anything otherwise. But he's not really a defender. So
no, that's not where he plays for the Ukraine, is it?
No, and let's not forget when he was at Shakhtar, I think he was a 10/wide forward, and now for Ukraine, as you say, he's playing for the Ukraine right now as a midfielder. So, and really, he plays for Arsenal as a midfielder. Let's make no bones about it. I did like the fact he closed his legs when Doku took him on. I had visions of him getting done by Salah. Was it Salah who nutmegged him at Anfield for that goal last year? So I had visions of him doing the same again, but he did close his legs this year, so that was good. But I don't know. I mean, in Zinchenko's defence, and I love Ben White. Ben White gets done fairly easily from right back as well sometimes.
Yeah, but he's good looking.
Well, and he's also
chiseled.
And he's also a better defender than Zinchenko, so it happens far less. But I'm just saying, to balance it out, both fullbacks can get roasted because both of our fullbacks are both not fullbacks. One's a central midfielder and one's a centre back. So, but they're both doing an excellent job. And I guess the argument is the payoff or the split is what Zinchenko gives you going forward is far more key to what we do than having an out and out Tierney left back, for example, who is just a left back. At least in Mikel's mind, anyway. Whether I would see it the same way, I don't know, but I'm not paid to manage the club, so I don't care.
Also, it's a bit odd that Tierney's injured. Lokonga's injured.
Yeah,
isn't Tavares injured as well?
Yeah, but I think Nuno was already carrying an injury, so I don't think that's an injury he's got since he's been away. Whereas Sambi was really unfortunate, and Tierney, yeah, that sounds like the problem with Tierney is it's a sell-on value, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the worry. But and of course he's a nice bloke and you'd like to see him get his football. So it's a bit of a shame.
Getting Nantes?
Not even substitute appearances at the moment. He's way off it. He's in the Brazil under-23s though, so there's that.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, but no, I thought he'd play a bit more, but the form of their wide players for Nantes has been a bit too good for him to get game time so far. So nothing, not a sausage.
Jimmy's son's 8th birthday. Happy birthday, Jimmy's son. Mine was yesterday. Huh?
Jimmy Jr.
Jimmy Jr. So happy birthday to you. You're 8. Yeah, what's the world going to be like when you're 53?
Great age.
Probably in pieces, floating around in space somewhere as all the humans have blown it up.
More than likely, yeah.
My birthday's the same as Tony Adams and Charlie George. What a wonderful way. Let's do some questions, shall we?
Yes, I think I share a birthday with David Ginola, by the way. But anyway, let's move on.
Oh, bonjour. Jimmy says, with VAR being on its knees and PGML basically a clown party, that will be the breaking point when clubs say enough is enough. You lot are looking good and we need to look abroad. Questions for Kris. I have fucking no idea what that means. I think you've been on the Cinzano there, Jimmy. Can you make head or tail of that?
Being clown party, will it be breaking point when club says enough is enough? You lot are not good enough. We need to look abroad. Right. I think what he's getting at there is
would you like to buy some punctuation, Jimmy? Is what we're asking.
I think what Jimmy's saying is how long is it going to be before we go and get our officials from overseas and start using foreign referees or officials? And I think, which is dangerous, I think it's more likely that they go down the route of employing professional VAR assistants. That's what I think that's the logical next move for me. That's what I think they're going to go for next, because we said it last week. It seems madness that they're putting these 40-something northerners who run around in little black tracksuits every weekend and telling them to operate machinery that they've probably never even seen. So I think that's more likely to happen. But for the record, I think Jimmy's right. I would love to see us with some foreign referees just to see if it makes any difference. They might get absorbed into the clown car that is how we run this league, or they might not buy into the alleged corruption that goes on from outside it. But I would love to see a few referees. I'd actually like to see it like the Champions League and European games, where referees from different countries just go, do the rotation.
There'd be a lot less bias.
Yeah, I think they would, but I don't think that'll ever happen because they're all employed by the leagues themselves rather than as a independent body. But it'd be interesting. But I think of a professional VAR technician, and nothing's going to change until the end of the season anyway. We know that. So yeah, it needs to change. Something needs to be done because it's just mistake after mistake, like we said last week.
Could there be a future of having a collective pool like we do for the Champions League for all games in the top 5 European leagues, and then it'd be the aim of referees from other leagues to try and get into that pool, because we can't carry on the way we're going because there is blatant favouritism and blindness going on. And plus, if they know they're going to lose their spot in the elite tier of refereeing to some Johnny Foreigner, they might sort their fucking lives out.
Well, that's it. It's jobs for the boys at the moment, isn't it? And there's a lot of older referees, a lot of the way Mike Dean spoke to Mercy the day, however much of it might have been slightly choreographed or not, like Mike Dean's attitude, why we've now got celebrity referees in this country, it blows my mind because nobody cares about them. They're there to do a job, and that's how it should be. Yeah, but I think the way Mike Dean spoke was that symptomatic, classic. I'm the referee, that David Ellery schoolmaster style. We are the referees. We tell you what goes. Listen to me, son. Come here and listen to what I have to say to you. And that's not the way it should be. Like, I'm not condoning players effing and jeffing in referees' faces, and that they do have to have a level of respect. But as many have told me over my 40 years on this world, and many will continue to tell me, you earn respect. You don't just get given it. You earn someone's respect. You earn someone's trust, and you implement that by how you go about your life, your lifestyle, and how you treat other people. And
unless your name's Francis Ngannou, then you get it immediately.
I mean, yeah, that's fair enough.
Or you get broken.
He's a big lad.
Noza and Boblix are asking, did we talk about Oliver working for the UAE? Yes, Kris mentioned that at the beginning of the show. Right, next question. I'll answer this one from Phil the Maca. Says, how long before Spurs' new manager bounce ends? When he stops playing teams that are probably going to get relegated. That's the easy answer to that one. One for you from Mr. Boblex. With our form and Chelsea's form, by how much should we smash them next week?
Yeah, I sort of feel like we've kind of mentioned that in my little drone on a minute ago, but all I would say to that is part of me thinks we'll go over there and turn them over, because again they've won a couple of games against some pretty average teams. But I don't know. I think it'll be a bit closer than a lot of us probably.
They won't be taking any prisoners.
No, that's true.
That's what we've got to worry about.
And Mudryk will probably decide to have a good game just because he can in that particular time. No, I'm fairly confident we win the game, but I don't think it will be. I think it will be an ugly, dirty game. And don't forget Pochettino, obviously ex-Spurs as well. There's a bit there. Yeah, I could see us coming away with a 1-0 or a 2-1. I think we won 1-0 last year, didn't we? With that, was it Gabriel's head? I think it was last year.
I've got no idea.
I think we won 1-0 at Stamford.
You could say they were invaded by aliens, and I wouldn't remember.
I think it was. Somebody in the chat will know. But yeah, I think if we go away there and grind it out and get a 1-0 win, I'm just as happy with that as if we go over there and win 3-2. So yeah, I'd take a close run thing, but obviously in reality, Chelsea, they're still not very good. So I would like to see us slap them around a bit, yeah.
I'm just trying to see if the referee's been assigned yet, but I can't find anything about that. Question here from Jimmy again. Why is it when we beat a top 6 team over the last couple of years, all the pundits and the media always put a downside on something as if we were lucky, and when we turn, and when will it turn to we are better than again? Would you like to buy a comma?
Because we're Arsenal, isn't it? That's why nobody likes us. That's just how it is, isn't it? We don't get credit.
Move to go and live on the M25. It sounds like 1,000 cars are going past.
It does, doesn't it? I'm not. The window is open ajar, but we'll soon be in winter and I'll have to close it again. But no, I live on a main road, unfortunately. I should be more professional and mute every time, but sorry.
No, it's too much bother.
Finally, for this shit.
Mr. Bob Lexperts, how hard should Arteta punch Michael Oliver in the head? All the hard, I think, is the appropriate answer from that.
All of the hard.
That's us. We're done now.
So I just muted because a car went past that, and this is what happens, you see. It doesn't work. Yes, that is us done. Our thoughts at this difficult time go to Jeff Arsenal's boiler, because it is a tough time. RIP to that. I think he said it was 18 years old, I think he said, which is
18 months.
Oh, 18 months, not 18. Oh, 18 months old. I was going to say, Jeff doesn't have like old goods, surely. He has only the best.
I thought he hired a man with a shovel just to like a scene off the Titanic, just shoveling endless amounts of coal.
Yeah, that's what should happen.
There's proof.
There is proof. Yeah,
it's on the blink.
Boiler.
And he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's been poking it with a stick for 2 hours.
Yeah. So if anyone's a qualified plumber, get around there immediately. But yes, that will do us for this week. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you ever so much. And if you appreciate us, or if you like what we do, you might be. I'm convinced that every once in a while we get a first-time viewer. They probably come in once and go, "Yeah, that's not for me," and click off. But in the vague chance that you did stick around, you did enjoy what we do, please do flick the subscribe button on the YouTubes, turn your bell notifications on so that you'll be notified when we go live, whenever that may be. And you kind of need that notification bell for this channel, because even we don't know when we're going to go live half the bloody time. So if we don't know,
pod 69.4% was subscribed, 30.6% not subscribed.
That's poor.
What are you doing with your life?
And at least 36% of those were bots. So, but no, in all seriousness, if you are just a casual viewer and you don't object to seeing our faces, then yeah, hit subscribe. Maybe give us another show. And then if we're still crap, you can unsubscribe afterwards. But no, we do appreciate you all. I know we're across multiple platforms, but thank you for coming in and hanging out, because if you didn't, it would be me and Danny just talking shit to each other without anybody here, which is also
be like one long message to our Jeff in Wonderland.
It would absolutely be that. But no, it's very good. We're happy. Things are going well. We're enjoying ourselves. And actually, fuck it, why not? I'm the host of this shit, so I can do this. If you like football from around the globe, there's plenty of podcasts. But if you're particularly interested in that of a French persuasion, you might like the podcast that I also host called French Football Weekly. So
never heard of it.
There you go. So if you want to take in myself, if you like me as a host, then you will find me on French Football Weekly as well. So yeah, enjoy that. Right, just before we go, I just want to leave you with this message. I think it's important that yesterday was World Mental Health Day. I don't think it's a secret, and I don't think anybody on this podcast will mind me saying that over the variety of different hosts and guests and co-presenters, whatever it is. I think we've all had our own individual battles here and there, and we all have ups and downs. I fucking hate this time of year. It's bloody depressing. It's miserable, and I can't stand the dark nights. And even I get a little bit down sometimes. So if you are watching this and you have got a mate you haven't spoken to for a while, or you've got that person you haven't reached out to for a while, or just somebody that you just really appreciate and you see them each and every day, just tell them. Just tell them and be there for them, and maybe make a new connection with someone, because you never know where it might lead. All right? So look after each other out there. We love you very, very much. And we'll be back with you. Danny doesn't love anybody.
Barely tolerate most of you.
But we will be back with you. I don't know if we'll do a show next week because it is international break. If we've got something that we can find that's interesting enough to talk about, and if more importantly, if anybody's around, it might just be like a...
Well, I've been threatening to do a show with Gav for a while, bless him. So maybe I might... There's the whole ticket shenanigans is going on, so you might dig something like that up. Or maybe I might do a show with Deke, because he hasn't been on since we stopped doing the post and pre-game shows. And maybe Stan, I don't know. Yeah. They might reply to our messages, Chris, unlike the rest of those fuckers.
It's more about who's available, really, isn't it? I'm amazed I'm still rocking on here. But
I'm amazed you turned up so often this season.
Incredible, isn't it? There's still time for me to go walkies, don't worry. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so if we have a show, it will be on the usual places, Twitter and YouTube, etc. So yeah, keep your bell notifications turned on. You won't miss a show. Easy as that, eh? Right. Danny, thanks for padding us along nicely tonight, just me and you. It's been fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you much for hosting, and I'm jiggling because I've just decided I need a wee, and at 53, when you need a wee, you really need to wee.
And on that note, I literally have nothing else to say. Thank you to all of you who joined us in the live chat. We love you all. Keep it Arsenal. And we need to get the fuck out of here before Danny pisses himself. All the bless. God bless. Good night.
As soon as I scored that goal, I was fucking livid. Get down, dog. Splendid business.
He nearly caught the bloody thing. What are you talking about?
So I was just eating a full quiche. Well, you don't often see them at it. So when you see them in the supermarket, they need to be swagged, microwaved immediately, and get the brown sauce on and bosh.